Hello, everybody. Welcome along. I didn't expect to be live this afternoon, but all of a sudden a notification just popped up on my phone. And oh my God, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse than Project Big Picture a couple of weeks ago, what it says down there, the quick banner I've hastily put up, $6 billion European Premier League proposed. This is breaking now, today, in the last half hour. I thought, shall I do some research or shall I just jump on and react organically to the article? Well, let's do just that. Just to preface this, we had Project Big Picture, which seemed to be slightly sly restructuring of English football, which was leaked and then discussed and then seemingly dismissed. But now we're talking about another restructuring of English football and possibly European football as well, that could just make our national game just a secondary issue when you actually read these thoughts. Here is the article. So well done to Mr. Mark Kleinman of Sky News City editor. There we go. He seems to have got the scoop here. So you can see there, European Premier League, Liverpool and Manchester United in talks for FIFA back tournament. Okay, they always use those two teams' names, and there's the link. But it's going to be more than just those two. So let's not necessarily straight away jump on Liverpool and Man U, although they are not the most popular in this kind of arena at the moment, are they? A $6 billion, that is, £4.6 billion. So just the £4.6 billion financing package has been drawn up to back the launch of a new European Premier League. How many years have we been hearing about this for? Liverpool and Manchester United are in talks about a bombshell plot involving Europe's biggest football clubs to join a new FIFA-backed tournament. So look, there's your first issue. If FIFA are actually in on this, well, the first thing it says is we've not been very trusting, or they've not been very trustworthy in the last few years. Oh, God. Let's say the last few decades, FIFA. But if they are involved, then this could go right over the heads of UEFA, who obviously currently run the Champions League competition and the Premier League as well. I'd be interested to know how the actual hierarchy of everything works, but FIFA's involvement very much legitimizes this as something that could happen. Financiers are assembling a $6 billion funding package for the European Premier League. More than a dozen teams from England, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain are in negotiations about becoming founder members. And I think that is a key thing as well. It's very much like the Premier League in the early 90s. The race to get on the money train before it departs the station is absolutely paramount for these people. And if your team wasn't on the money train when it left the station of the Premier League, maybe like me, you're an Ipswich fan, you were relegated a couple of seasons in, I don't know, Coventry or someone like that. Well, that changed your club's fortunes for years and years, didn't it? Moving on, as many as 5 clubs could sign to join it, with the provisional start date said to be discussed as early as 2022. So never mind your big 6. Someone's missing out, you lot up there. Sources said that FIFA's football world governing body had been involved in developing the format, which is expected to comprise 18 teams and involve fixtures played during the regular European season. So it sounds like the replacement possibly for the Champions League. But when you read the detail, what it would do would be something very different than the Champions League, because essentially you're winning the Premier League or getting up to the top of the Premier League to be in the Champions League, whereas this looks like a bit of a closed shop to me. The top placed teams in the league were then playing a knockout format to conclude the tournament, with prize money for the winners expected to be worth hundreds of millions of pounds. So that's just an amped up Champions League or Super Bowl type situation there. One football industry figure said a formal announcement be made soon, although on Tuesday, a number of key details, including a list of participating clubs, had yet to be finalised, and the plans could still fall apart. Source said, potentially the most important development in world club football for decades. Well, if the Premier League was the most important in English football for decades, then this would be equivalent in world football terms, wouldn't it? According to insiders, a handful of English sides have been approached. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City and Spurs, along with Man United and Liverpool. It's not thought that any of the English clubs has yet signed legally binding terms to join. And it was unclear which member of the so-called Big Six would miss out if only 5 are ultimately involved. The news will drop a fresh bombshell over proposals there have been at loggerheads, so I missed that a bit. Engineered by Liverpool and Manchester United to hand power to the biggest clubs while providing a coronavirus bailout. Yeah, this just feels like the next step, doesn't it? It feels like they said, well, you can we can take the power this way, or if you don't want that, we're going to take it this way. Goodness me. Project Big Picture, yeah, we've talked about that. Denounced as a backroom deal by government ministers. If the plan bears fruit, they would effectively constitute European Super League that has been subject to on-off discussions for many years. Hasn't it just? I'm going to read on. The giant Wall Street bank JP Morgan is in talks to provide £6 billion worth of debt, because that's what football needs, isn't it? That's what banking needs as well. Huge amounts of debts and vast amounts of money ploughed in that lots of people are going to want to get their grubby little mitts on, hey? Financing to launch the European Premier League. Proceeds repayable. Oh, God. The proceeds repayable from future broadcast income generated by the tournament. Yeah, nice. That sounds like the mother of all bank loans, doesn't it? Goodness me. So we're going to start straight away from the position that we're already bemoaning being in. Vast sums of money and vast sums of debt and everything hanging on TV money. Have they not learned anything? Oh, dear, oh me. Other banks are expected to join the financing of the new project. I bet they are. Each of the founding teams expected to earn fees of hundreds of millions of pounds. They added the European Premier League, likely to feature 16 or 18 teams, meaning a likely minimum of 30 matches based on a round-robin home and away. So that's very different than the Champions League. That's everybody playing everybody in a league rather than, the sort of miniature divisions we get. If the discussions are successfully concluded, the European Premier League, would effectively usurp UEFA's Champions League, which has been a mainstay. It's unclear whether the new tournament had the backing of UEFA. What do you reckon? It's got the backing of UEFA. FIFA are going to come and take their massive cash cow away. Of course, they're not going to back it, but hey, they might have to just be in on it, mightn't they? Goodness me. If it did have UEFA support, it's likely to be unveiled as an enhanced version of the Champions League and an example of unprecedented cooperation between two governing bodies which have historically found themselves in opposition. Well, if the cooperation is going to be unprecedented, then that kind of gives you an idea of the likelihood of it happening, doesn't it? Football Insider said that if UEFA was not involved, the new tournament would represent an incendiary move from FIFA that would undermine the European governing body's principal annual revenue-generating tournament. That's a more articulate way of saying what I just said. There could be a string of legal challenges, of course, because if the agents aren't going to get rich, the players aren't going to get rich, and the TV companies aren't going to get rich, then the lawyers are sure as hell going to get rich in all the collateral, aren't they? One source to cast doubt, the launch of the Premier League, particularly before 2024, when the existing Champions League restructure is expected to be revamped. Let's have another scroll here. I think we're getting the idea of all of this. Real Madrid have been one of the principal architects. PSG, Juventus, Bayern Munich, Mr. Perez and Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, have in bed together by the look of it. Dear oh me, I'm going to keep scrolling here and find vital comments here because this seems to be quite a long article. But I think we're getting the idea of this now. Such an American-style approach to European football would reflect the sport's shifting power base following an influx of US-based owners into the English game during the last 20 years. Are we blaming the Americans on this or blaming this on the Americans? Well, we seem quite keen to go along with it ourselves before we do that, don't we? English Premier League clubs have complained that they're collectively losing more than 100 million quid every month. We know. EFL clubs. Oh, my God. We've actually mentioned that EFL clubs actually exist underneath these Premier League teams, but just not relevant anymore, EFL clubs, are they? If you think about it, why, if you were one of these big six or top five or whatever going along to this, why would you care about the EFL clubs? You're looking upwards at what you could earn, not downwards at, what other people are struggling to do. The decision to join the new European tournament will leave its participants exposed to the suggestion that they were enriching themselves at the expense of domestic rivals, exacerbating the already vast financial gulf between teams at the top and bottom of the Premier League. That is the most stupid thing I've ever seen written in my entire life. Do you really think the issue is between the top and the bottom of the Premier League? Come on! Wow. So, my heart bleeds for the teams at the bottom of the Premier League who are making 100 million quid TV money a year. Just look down a few places. There's another 72 clubs, the most of which they're getting £7 million. So, that's that just sums the whole thing up, doesn't it? That the gulf is between the Premier League clubs. No, it's not. The reason that English football is unsustainable and in ruins is because of the gulf all the way down the system and a completely unequitable distribution of the TV money that is in no way, shape, form or fashion based on sporting merit. Oh, my goodness me. What a load of crap that is. Sorry. Rant. Central to the new league would be the question of whether its fixtures are played in the existing slots allocated to Champions League matches or whether the prize of drawing vast live audiences in Asia and the US as well means they're an attempt to play them through the... Who cares when they play them? God. They're going to do it to the biggest TV audience possibly, aren't they? Look, I think, we get all the idea there. So, look, I mean... I'm trying to figure out whether this is better or worse than Project Big Picture. Because essentially, the way I understand this, and forgive me if I'm wrong, for those people who like to comment on these videos going, you missed this out, Ben. Fine, whatever. I just read the article for the first time. My understanding here is this is a closed shop of the top European teams that will play during the Premier League season and during the English football season, and that essentially no one can get in or out of. Therefore, if Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, whoever are playing in this league, but also the Premier League, why would they care about the Premier League, which will now be their secondary tournament? The Premier League will become like what the FA Cup has now become, where nobody really cares about it because they're too fixated on the Premier League and the Champions League. So at the moment, it still kind of works because you have to, and this is what I've just brought up, sporting merit is and this is the issue of the whole money thing, that none of it seems to be based on sporting merit. You have to actually finish in the top four of your league to get into the Champions League. So that's all right because it's on sporting merit. Some people argue it should just be the champion still. Fine, that's open to opinion, isn't it? But obviously they want as many big clubs in it as possible to draw as many eyeballs and TV ad revenue, and away we go into the blooming capitalist chasm again. Whereas this sounds like it's not based on sporting achievement here. This is based on presumably the Deloitte and whatever the accountants are called, their list of the biggest grossing football clubs in the world. All you have to do is be at the top of that league to get into this, by the way. Doesn't matter how many goals you've scored or conceded or if you won your league or whatever. If you are the biggest club in your country, turnover-wise, eyeballs-wise, you'll get into this league, because that is what they want. They want your followers there. This sounds really bad. It sounds really, really bad. Look, Project Big Picture sounded bad, but the idea was that if you could negate the power grab in some way, shape or form, that it could actually do some good if it redistributed the TV money down. Obviously, the thought is that it would be quite hard to do that, and that the power grab was the key thing there. So, but this sounds a whole lot worse, doesn't it? Because we're talking about the EFL clubs. So this does nothing to solve the problems in English football, does it? With the EFL and the distribution of wealth and I do like that, really, and then nobody getting anything else below the 3 teams that get relegated from the Premier League and their parachute payments. So this does nothing to do with that. I must say, there is somewhere in that report, I couldn't quite find it, where it says there would need to be big solidarity payments in this. So look, the only way I'm going to like something like this is if it promises to pay a whole ton of money equally down the entire pyramid. But come on, really? Is it going to? I doubt it very, very much. But the biggest problem with the whole thing is the closed shop idea. Because what's the point then in the Premier League? What's the point? The Premier League, the top division in the English football pyramid, then becomes pointless, doesn't it? Because if the biggest teams aren't bothered whether they're winning the Premier League or not, then that takes everything competitive out of English football, doesn't it? If that's the way I'm to understand this, that, I don't know, Manchester United finish 8th in the Premier League but could win the European Premier League, that would be a good season for them. That would be the best season ever because of their zillion billion pounds of money they would get. Also, from a supporter's point of view, it just feels like you're taking these clubs. Look, and I know they're huge clubs and they are already belonging to the world and to the continent. But it sounds like you're just taking the clubs away from the fans and making them into worldwide organisations, but so much more so if they're regularly going to be playing all around Europe. I know that's kind of already the case with the Champions League, but this sounds worrying. This sounds very, very worrying. Hopefully, I'm completely overreacting, but when you see our source said could be the biggest change in world football in decades, then obviously that would be slightly worrying, wouldn't it? Let's have a look at some of your comments here. Oh, thank you, Sean, a €10 super chat there. Let's just have a look here. Hopefully they have a promotion relegation season. Yeah, that's the big issue, isn't it? If there's no promotional relegation and this is the biggest tournament, then what does that do to the stuff below it? It's ultimately then irrelevant, isn't it? So the league so my team Ipswich in League One, what's the point in Ipswich? I know some people would say that anyway. What's the point? They're trying to get promoted to the Championship, to get promoted to the Premier League that the top teams in the Premier League don't care about because they're in a division that nobody else can get to. Just seems a big waste of time, doesn't it? And also, the money that the Premier League is now getting, and I can understand why the European teams want this, the money that the Premier League teams are now getting will all go into this, essentially will come out of the English football pyramid, won't it? Ben, you're assuming clubs going into this league will also play in the... Well, I am assuming that, Chris. It does say in the report that it's not yet supposed to be a monopoly. But yeah, you might be right, Chris. You might be right. They could just disappear and vanish and be gone. I am assuming that. And they could just be trying to soften us with the language in there. But yeah, it could just reduce us from 92 to 86 if that comment is not true in that report, that it's not currently planned that teams are going to leave their league to join this. But what Chris has said there makes some sense because otherwise it does seem to render everything else pointless, doesn't it? And then it just depends whether people will watch it or not. But you know they're going to because all the top players are going to end up in there. Oh, dearie me. Makes sense as PSG, Barca and Real will win their league every year. So for them, it's... But, well, Robin, you know, is it every league's responsibility in Europe to make sure that every other league is interesting? It's not an English football fan's fault that PSG now have tons of money from wherever they're backed by, Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Qatar or something, one of those Arab states out there. Do we have to sort that out? Dearie me. Ridley says, spot on, what's the point anymore? Clubs trying to get to the Premier League. Yeah, I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. But, well, I do get it, because if I'm Manchester United or Liverpool or whoever, where is there to go above where you are at the moment? Well, there's this. And it just depends, because you could get a system where you've got this NFL type monopoly where every 5 years they might relegate one team from each one country and bring in another, and it all just feels a little bit soulless. And then what happens if they do that and they move the teams actually out of the Premier League? What happens then to the sixth team that just missed out? Are they just going to win the Premier League every season because the challenge of the others has gone? I don't know. I really, really don't know. Alfonso says, if the Big Six want to play in a Super League, let them, good riddance. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But the only worry is if the big clubs disappear to their European Super League and they take all of the good things that came with the Premier League. And there are good things. Having more money is a good thing as long as it doesn't corrupt. But hey, money and power always corrupt. But it's the players, isn't it? Where are the good players going to go? All of the elite players in the world will go and play in this league. None of them will be in La Liga or the Premier League or wherever. So, hey, some people might like that. They might say, okay, less money, less craziness. Let's have our pyramid again. No ludicrous parachute money and what have you. But it just seems like anytime there's a good player as well, they're just going to get sold and to the riches. It's just repositioning the Premier League to somewhere else, isn't it? Basically, and we know in the end that where the money and where all the power is where all the eyeballs and everything else goes. Right, that's my reaction to this. I've had a little think and I've had a little rant. Let me know. There's loads of stuff coming in the comments. Nico adds as well as the Premier League, not in lieu of. That's what it seems to say, which actually seems to be worse than it being in lieu of, doesn't it? So there we go. People, it's so sad for the big teams who had fans for years. Yeah, can't even get. But that's it. It's the team becoming a worldwide conglomerate organization, whatever word you want to use. The teams have been taken away from the fans then at that point, isn't it? So that is my thoughts on, what did we call it here? The $6 billion European Premier League. Get your thoughts in. I've tried to react as honestly as I can. Sorry if I missed anything from the article. Please, I know that people are going to be angry about this and passionate. So please don't direct your anger at me. I'm just trying to get a debate going and let's just try and discuss it rationally. Although I did go off on one a couple of times, didn't I? So I know I've been guilty of that. So, right. Thank you, everybody, for watching that impromptu stream. Get your comments in and more on this as it develops. Over and out, guys.